Are we in a bubble in the Dubai real estate? I think it's really important we talk about this, but before I do, let me tell you about what my background is in real estate, specifically in Dubai. Hi there, it's Jeremy and Millionaire Migrant. Here we help ultra high net worth, and even people on their way to being high net worth to be able to take advantage of all the opportunities around the world, leveraging on my experience, my network of contacts, and also my existing large high net worth client base that I have to give you the best information from the top so you can take advantage and make some good money for yourselves and your people around you, but also to be able to take advantage to diversify and protect your wealth also. I first came to Dubai in my late 20s, but I had been working in real estate since I was 22 on two levels. First of all, in my career, I started working in property search. Then I worked for one of the world's largest or Europe's largest real estate developer, a listed company. And then I went to work for a semi-government developer. And then I ended up working for a sovereign wealth fund. So every time getting more and more exposure to how real estate is done, feasibility studies, distribution models, sales, marketing, leasing, you name it, in many different countries around the world. Meanwhile, I was also buying real estate and building my real estate portfolio, which now extends to 30 properties in 11 different countries. I'm buying one this month and I'm looking at more in a couple of months' time. And I'm offloading some as well. I recently offloaded one this week. When I first came in Dubai, what I realized is that the market had been on a crazy run and then corrected literally the same week that I arrived, which is when the Lehman Brothers crash and the real estate crisis, the global financial crisis, you could even say, started. I remember arriving here and everyone was telling me, we're in Dubai, it's fine, we're going to be okay. And then afterwards they fired me and said, thanks for coming, here's 2 months salary, which if I do the math was really, really good because I was already getting well paid, I was getting extra paid. And then I just decided to go on a holiday around the region and get to explore what's going on around here. Because I realized that there was an opportunity to stick around because going back was not an option. But also I realized that it was a place where if the strongest could survive, there's going to be some good opportunities in the future. And that turned out to be the case. As I stuck around, what happened is obviously my immigration business, my high net worth immigration business, which looks after second passports, citizenship, residency, golden visas, really started to take off. But I also started buying property. So I bought my first property just after the financial crisis because guess what? That's when the opportunities were there. I bought a property which was around, you can say in dollar terms, around $250,000. But I was making an ROI of 13%. 13% on that property, paid up front every year, which meant, and obviously I didn't take a mortgage on this because it was a distressed deal and usually back then liquidity was really tight, but I was only going in 13%, maybe it was 14%, I can't remember, but let's say 13%. But 13% on that property paid up front meant that within 6 years, the property was paid off. I've had better deals than that actually in Dubai and other countries, but for the purpose of this video, we want to know what's going to happen next. Is there going to be a correction? And what are the type of deals you can happen? What I'm going to talk about a little bit later is that this is going to be a really, really good time to buy. There was good times to buy after COVID, actually COVID, just after COVID, but there would have been probably a year or two where unless you bought in the right place, you probably are going to be regretting buying what you bought. And again, depends what you bought, when you bought. Sometimes you get a good deal, sometimes you get a different asset class or location. But I can tell you that come this summer, this is going to be the time you want to be buying. So don't buy anything now, wait until the summer, and I'm going to explain why in a bit. Now, if we go back in time and we look about where there were corrections in the market, first of all, you will never get any broker telling you that there is not going to be a correction. This is the problem we have. Every broker here is on commission only, every single one. Even the guy who's cut my hair, I told a story about it before, but the guy who's cut my hair, and you can see the damage that's happened to me as a result of this. But the fact is that even that guy is now selling properties. Now, maybe he's going to be the best broker in Dubai, but the chances are he probably should go back to cutting hair, at least in the next 6 months. Now, what happens is that you won't get this impartial advice from brokers because they work commission only. So they want you to sell, they want you to buy, they want you to flip, you want them to rent your property out with them or to manage their property. And this is always the challenge I've had, which is why I set up my own real estate company. I got my own license and I get my own guys. I have 2 analysts, one global, one local, and I have a real estate person who has 15 years real estate experience and used to work in one of the best and most reputable international real estate firms, and he gets paid a salary. Why? Because if I'm going to be doing deals, I'm going to do it for my clients. I don't want anyone who's motivated for any other reason, definitely not financial, for him. I want him to be looking after my best interests. And this is how some of the clients that who've come on board with me have made exceptional returns. Exceptional returns. I won't say it on camera, but you ever you come, I'll show it to you. And even my real estate manager says, please stop telling people about these returns, because now they're just basically waiting to get the same thing. So this is to make sure that I get impartial advice, and now you have a lot more data that you didn't used to have before. Before, I mean, again, there were some really crazy stories. Even that one apartment I bought, even when I was in the trustee office, I misspelt the buyer's name, but the deal still went through. Sorry, not the buyer's name, the seller's name. I misspelt it. The deal went through. So he couldn't cash the check. I would keep the money, but now I had the title deed. That doesn't happen anymore. But that tells, but there's still many crazy things that have happened in trustee offices and other parts in real estate. But Dubai is generally a great place to invest, and I'll explain that in a short bit. But that kind of crazy stuff doesn't happen anymore. Now you have a lot more data, a lot more information. You have multiple sources which we collect, which has helped me to really outperform the market, because as you can tell, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm recently a YouTuber, but I'm not a kid in a bedroom saying that I have this real estate portfolio. You will see, and you can tell already just by doing a bit of research online, that I have a real estate portfolio and I have done good returns, and it's not the only thing that I do. But what happens is that it allows me to have a competitive advantage against the average person who just goes to someone and says, a broker, can I buy a property? You would have some kind of research, but I will have a team that will give me all the research, whether it's Dubai, whether it's Colombia, Paraguay, Georgia, Turkey, Portugal, and so on. Let's look at a chart that shows roughly the trend line for what's been happening in the Dubai real estate market. Let's start with 2002, because 2002 is when they announced freehold. That's when things went crazy. 2002 up to 2008, when you had the global financial crisis. Then afterwards, it just falls off a cliff. It was really, really tough. No one really wanted to buy it. And I was around at that time on both sides of the coin, because obviously I was still employed in the real estate sector, but I was also investing. So I managed to offset the lack of income and job stability by actually investing and generating good returns. But by sticking around, I ended up getting the upside. So what happened is that there was the correction. The next thing that happened was they announced the Expo 2020. That was in 2013. So I had already bought in 2012. That's when I saw my property start to shoot up in value. That was the first property I bought in Dubai. 2013, it shoots up because they announced Expo, which is kind of weird, because when did Expo really have a tangible impact on the value of real estate? I mean, if you look around the world, it never really did. But it's something that everyone jumped on and marketed it, and there was a big spike 2013 until we got to 2016. 2016 is when the price of oil, which was the second time that the UAE was affected by the price of oil, because obviously the global financial crisis also affected the price of oil. And there we had the second correction. And what happened is it basically plateaued from 2016 to 2020. Now, around that time, I bought my first office. And at the time, it made a lot of sense, because I wanted to have an office and I didn't want to pay rent. And this is another story I'll talk, which is a very technical thing about why commercial can be a really good investment play. Because guess what? Most people don't know about it. And if most people don't know about it, you're in a blue ocean, which means you can capitalize on that one. But I'll come to that in another video. So what happens, I did that office, but what happens is that it wasn't also the right time to buy the office. So of course, I was being my own landlord. I was not paying rent. That's fine. But also upgrading my office meant I was upgrading my own asset. And then what happens is that it was plateau 2016, then go to 2020. Around 2020, 2021, that's when the UAE started shooting up, because people started coming here massively in their droves, because they didn't like the lockdown. They didn't like the fact that their liberty was being taken. And they also started to realize that, you know what, I don't want to live in this country anymore. I want to live in another country. And that is a story that has been evolving ever since. So here we have lots of different bits of information and graphs that will tell you about what's happened and the trend line. So the difference now is that we have a very delicate situation we have with the tariff war, the Trump tariff war that is happening right now. And so a lot of people are contacting me, personal, my real estate contacts. A lot of you guys are commenting and sending us direct messages. What should be happening? What's happening is that if anyone is looking to not buy, it's because they're hesitating. And there's people who are looking to sell or sell at below what they paid for, it's because they're getting margin called somewhere else. Or they have to complete on the next installment on their off-plan property because they never really had the money or the intent to be able to complete on that off-plan property, because a lot of brokers would tell you, you just buy the property and you flip it onto somebody else. I've had that. They've just told me, what's the play here? Oh, you just buy it and flip it onto the next guy. Well, the music has stopped. So the musical chairs game has stopped. And if you're the last one who doesn't have a chair to sit down, you're out of the game. And this is what is happening. But don't worry, there's still enough tangible demand of people coming here for a number of different reasons we're going to talk about now. So although there's a bit of a wobble, you might be able to get some good deals. But wait a couple of months and you'll get some really good deals. I'm going to come to that reason why you should be looking to invest in the summer shortly. But first of all, I just want to go through some numbers here, because as I mentioned, there's still tangible demand for people who want to move to the UAE. And this all starts, if you go back a little bit in time, with a lot of the government initiatives that have been coming into place. So some of it have been, well, actually some of it wasn't even government initiatives. Some of it was just by pure luck, the biggest blessing that the UAE ever had, which was the war between Russia and Ukraine, when all Russian nationals who had properties or assets, investments in Europe or the US found all their properties getting frozen because they were getting sanctioned. So all of those people said, well, first of all, there's a war. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here for conscription. And I need to set up my business in a foreign jurisdiction so I don't have sanctions against me. And I also want to buy property because I can't buy anywhere else. And that's the last time I'll probably buy in Europe or UK or US. Guess where they came? They came to the UAE. So they came to the UAE and they start buying and buying and buying. But they're not the only ones. The Indians are buying, the Chinese are buying, the Brits are leaving. If you look at all the news right now, and it's not even touching the tip of the iceberg, hundreds and thousands of multimillionaires, everyone else as well, but multimillionaires are leaving the UK and coming here because they have closed the non-dom program. So you have loads of Brits coming here. But you also have Europeans who are taxed to the hill. Cost of expenses, cost the inflation, taxes, ESG and sustainable green initiatives that are just making Europe anti-competitive. They're also saying, hold on, I pay tax. It's like I'm fighting with one hand behind my back. They're also coming here. In fact, the last people to find out about this whole story, which are the Americans, because they always, for different reasons, they didn't want to invest in the UAE, they're now coming here. So even those people, the South Americans, are also coming here. So you've got all those people coming here. And then you have the fact that the Golden Visa, which is a fantastic government initiative, the Dubai Golden Visa is historically the most attractive residency program in history. And that is bringing thousands of people here. You could be going up to tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of people, because obviously you've got different types of visas. You've got your green visas and you've got all the other type of visas. But the Golden Visas used to be 5 million dirhams, valid for 5 years. But then they dropped it to 2 million dirhams, valid for 10 years. And for real estate, they even went even further and said, you only need to pay 30%, give or take, of the property value, and we'll give you the Golden Visa up front, and the rest of it is paid in stage payments. This has really, really turbocharged the real estate market in the UAE, and we're starting to see that now. So the demand is there. And if you look at the supply, so that's the demand, look at the supply. If you look at the supply, we're looking at 250,000 properties to be handed over in the next 4 years by 2029. Now, for a lot of you say that's a lot of property. It is a lot of property. It's broken down by apartment, by villa. We're gonna put the chart up here so you can see. Now, some of these projects are already handed over. Some of them are under construction, and some of them, they haven't even been announced yet. The thing is, what we need to make sure is that the demand will keep up with the supply. And I think that at some point, there will be a divergence. I don't think the demand will keep up with supply. But this is a simple, broad view. You need to look into the granular details, which is like, well, some of these properties are hotels, some are offices, some are warehouses, some are apartments, villas, hotel apartments. There's all different types of criteria. What you want to do is you want to get into the right niche where there is a very strong underlying demand. As I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of experience in real estate, and now I have a whole team around me. I have my own personal lawyer when we want to manage the contracts as well. So again, a lot of people don't have access to these type of resources. But the thing is, if you were to say, well, I'm not sure if this amount of supply is going to be fulfilled by the demand that is coming in, let me just outline very simply, just to make this video short, a few things that no other country can compete with. First of all, you have an extremely attractive residency program, right? Second of all, you have no taxes on the rent, no taxes on the capital gains. So that wipes out most of the alternatives that anyone today wanted to invest in. It's dirhams, which is pegged to the dollar, which is now, guess what, slightly less affordable, especially if you're European, which means a lot of Europeans will be like, you know what, it's a bit expensive for me. Guess what, it's about 10%, 15%, it could even change 15% cheaper. So now you've got the Europeans saying, great, now's a good time for me to buy here. They were coming here anyway for tax reasons. Then you've got safety, which is a really big problem everywhere around the world. You have high-class infrastructure, you can do a lot of great business here. But on top of this, you have low buying costs. You're 4% to the government, 2% to the broker. You don't pay the 2% when you sell. So it's 6% all in, going out. I spoke to someone today who was interested. He was like, yeah, but you know, it's very expensive to buy here. I was like, it's not, it's 4 + 2. And he said, yeah, but in my country, he said, it was Estonia or something like that. He said, we pay in total 2 or 3%. I said, yeah, well, what's your capital gains tax? Oh, he said it's 22%. What's your renting income tax? 22%. What type of yield do you make? He said about 3 to 4% on your rented income. What type of capital gains? Well, it's Estonia. You don't even need to tell me. It's not a liquid market. People don't wake up every day saying, I really want to buy in Tallinn. I think that's where it's going to be. So I said, you can't compare. And then in the end, he said, no, you're right. I think you've got some valid points there. And last but not least, the returns you'll get here. You're getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% returns. I've been getting 15, 16% returns, and that's rent. That's not on the capital appreciation. Where are you going to get that? And then on top of this, you have the capital appreciation, which again, it's, you know, toss of a coin. I never really invest for capital appreciation. I do it more for yield because I find that there's a correlation. You work backwards. You know, if your yield is good, then people buy multiples of the yield. But the other thing is that as a result of doing this calculation, you will also find that you're getting the yield, it's tax-free yield, you're getting capital appreciation, it's tax-free. And here's the magic sauce, the leverage. You're getting emerging market returns with leverage. Now, countries that will give you leverage at affordable rates will be the US and Europe, which are talking 4s and 5%. For example, UK is much higher. But those are countries which will give you the lending, loan to value of, let's say, 70%, 80%. You'll get that here as well. The difference is that there you will have taxes. There you won't get yield, and there you won't get capital appreciation. Here you will. So you're getting emerging market returns with leverage, tax-free return on that. So with infrastructure and visibility, the way that it is right now is everything is very transparent. You have good, smooth purchase process. So you're getting all the upside of emerging market, with all the protection and visibility of a developed market and as well as a credit market. So you have leverages. And then the last thing I want to tell you is why we should do it now is that if you look now at property sales volumes, you will see that year on year, we'll compare last year with this year. Property transactions are buoyant in the first quarter and then have dipped in April. The reason being is that you have Ramadan here. So Ramadan, everyone just kind of takes it slow, takes it easy. Whether you're Muslim or you're not Muslim, it goes down. So what happens is that when it goes down, a lot of business doesn't really happen. There's no transactions. But historically, it goes back up again. So now we're coming out of Ramadan, we're coming into May, things are going to get busy again, you're going to get into June. But what you want to be doing is that if you're looking to buy, you want to be buying when it's quiet. So if you didn't pick up anything in Ramadan, when everyone was going crazy, that would have been the first best time. The second best time is the next time it goes down, and people who really need to get out are looking for buyers, but the buyers are all out of town, which is July and August. Some of the best deals I've done have been in July and August, because guess what? Sellers, when they want to sell, will take anything because all the buyers are away. So you're the only one in town. You want to take advantage of this. This summer, you're going to get all of those people who've been margin calls, all those people who the music has stopped on the musical chairs on off-plan properties and never bought. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I did buy one property off-plan. I bought it and I thought, this is not a good idea. I don't know why I'm doing this. And I sold it. Got my money back. Maybe I made 5%. I couldn't really care less. I got out of it. I have typically always bought ready properties, but I know that you can get really good properties on off-plan. And I have bought an off-plan, just happens to be in different countries. Summer is when you want to get your deals. So if you guys want to do any business and you would like to do it with us, we are different from other companies. I'm not a real estate brokerage. You'll never see me anywhere. You'll never see, us with stands or brokers cold calling you and everything like this. I have guys who look after my portfolio and my client's portfolio. They are not incentivized to sell to you. They're incentivized to give you the right advice. We don't just look at this market. We're looking actively at other markets, because I recently came back from 1 or 2 countries and said, you know what? That one is a land play. That one is building a credit profile to be able to leverage and to get more properties. I won't tell you, those are the other videos that you'll have to watch where I'm talking about those countries and what I'm looking at. But if you do want to get in Dubai, don't buy anything now. Wait till the summer. That's when you want to be ready. But don't just call us in the summer and say, hey, I'm ready. Start talking to us now so that we can understand what you want. You can get your ducks in a row. Maybe you want to speak to a mortgage advisor. Maybe you want to get your capital ready. Maybe you want to find the right time to be able to convert your money from a foreign currency to dirhams, all that type of stuff. Get yourself prepared. Summer is buying season. Thanks very much for watching, MillionaireMigrant.com. Look forward to your feedback. Tell me if I'm right about Dubai. Tell me if I'm wrong. I love to be told that I'm wrong, but I also like to be told I'm right. Thank you very much.